Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Caitlin McCarthy coming to you live from our digital studios. This week, Northeast Ohio is bracing for dangerous cold, and one of our biggest concerns is safety this week. Let's bring in meteorologist Erica Page. She's going to walk us through really important things when it comes to staying safe in this dangerous cold. And first, Erica, one of the biggest concerns when the weather is in single digits is hypothermia.
Yeah, hypothermia, frostbite, I mean, anything that's going to basically put your body at risk when you're talking these extreme cold temperatures. You want to try to avoid it, obviously, as much as possible. Now, there are going to be some instances where, you can't just stay inside all the time. It's understandable, but if you can absolutely limit that time outside, please do so the next couple of days. Unfortunately, it's something we have to talk about. I'm not necessarily saying it's probably the most common thing that we'll see. I think frostbite's probably going to reign a little bit higher up there, but just to kind of give you an idea of what your body kind of goes through when you're talking about hypothermia, and maybe some of the telltale signs, maybe if you're with family or with friends and you're, getting from point A to point B, and then all of a sudden you start to notice something is a little off, something's not quite right. I think it's important to understand what some of these warning signs are. So you'll see confusion, shivering. That is honestly one of the big ones. You wouldn't think of shivering as something that kind of cools off your body. I mean, yes, you have that natural reaction, right? When you're trying to warm up and you're really, really cold, but what it's doing is it's actually expending a lot of your body's energy. And so it actually causes you, because you're using energy, to actually lose a lot of that body heat. And anything that's going to basically expose yourself to dropping that internal body temperature, you're trying to avoid at all costs. Some other things you might notice: difficulty speaking, sleepiness. If you've heard of some of the kind of signs and symptoms of hypothermia, that might be one of the ones that you're most kind of familiar with, is the sleepiness factor, and certainly stiff muscles. Now, if you're out and about shoveling, of course, your muscles just may feel stiff just as it is, but keep that in mind. If you're noticing that and you're maybe not overexerting yourself, that could potentially be one of those telltale signs that hypothermia is maybe in those early stages of starting to set in. If you notice or you recognize any of these symptoms with yourself or maybe somebody that you're with, the best bet, obviously, is to, of course, kind of start thinking about seeking medical attention, but try and warm up your body slowly as much as you can to try and bring that internal body temperature back up.
And Erica, you mentioned people will likely be out and about shoveling. People are going to work. They're getting in their cars. They're going to the grocery store. So what are some ways people can, we already know to bundle up, to make sure that you have layers on, but what are some other really important things people should be aware of when they're bracing this kind of cold temperature?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think it's not just necessarily the cold air that we're trying to protect our body against. It's also some of the wind. I mean, that's one of the things that makes these wind chill factors, like what we're going to end up seeing early this next week, so brutal for us. So yes, we say dress in layers, and we're talking more of those insulating ones. If you have things like wool socks, put those on underneath your boots, and make sure your boots then are ones that can kind of protect yourself a little bit from the wind and potentially any kind of wetter conditions. I realize that probably is not going to be as much of a concern, since anything that has been slushy or wet over the last couple of days is quickly starting to freeze now, and so probably not as much of a concern. But again, just kind of things that you need to think about a little bit more as you go through the next several days. Hat, mittens, always better than gloves. If you can keep your fingers together in one spot, it allows your fingers to stay just a little bit warmer rather than isolating them when you're talking about gloves. Scarf, put it over your face when you're going to be outside, because you want to try and protect your lungs as much as possible. I mean, I know you're going to be breathing in the cold air regardless, but if you can kind of lessen the impact of breathing in some of that really cold air, you can protect your lungs a little bit better, and that's always good because that's going to help kind of keep your temperature a little bit warmer in your body. Stay dry as much as you can. Stay out of the wind. It's the wind that basically takes any warmer air that you have hugging close to your body away from you. And so the second you start taking that protective layer of warmth around your body away, you open yourself up to allowing that body temperature to drop a lot faster, avoiding overexertion. And some of the other things you think about: protecting pipes. Make sure if you have any pipes that kind of lead to the outdoors tonight, you're insulating them as much as possible, wrapping them. You don't want to deal with freezing and bursting pipes kind of as we head through the next couple of nights. Limiting time outside with your pets. Make sure it's a quick in and out kind of scenario. No long walks in this kind of cold air, and make sure livestock have a warm place to stay. Unfrozen water, that's another big key when we're talking temperatures as cold as they're going to be.
Erica, thank you. And we're going to check back in with you around 9:15 tonight here in our digital studios. We have several first alert weather days coming up this week. A lot of really cold days ahead of us. So we're going to keep an eye on the forecast, and we cannot stress this enough. It's great to have the 19 First Alert weather app handy. You can get real-time updates from our weather team, but also a live look at the radar. And then also on the 19 News app, we're also going to have information on warming centers, which we're going to show you in just a moment here. But again, all helpful tools to get you through these next few days. All right, everyone, we'll have that information on our website, cleveland19.com. Any updates on when those warming centers will be open and any additional openings, we will have that on our website. Again, tonight, stay warm, stay bundled up, and we'll see you back on the news for Channel 19 News on CW43 at 10 o'clock and 19 News at 11. Have a good night.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.